Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue Podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. A lovely one. I hope you are doing well. If you are listening to this at the time this episode went out, we are in July 2026. And I'm wondering if maybe you've had thoughts of, oh my gosh, where are all the inquiries? Why is my course that filled with such ease a couple of months ago actually feeling like it's not going to fill? What is going on? Why have things gone oh so quiet? And of course, when that happens, we naturally start telling ourselves stories. So we might be like, oh my gosh, all the potential clients have gone to the competition instead. Everything that I was doing before is no longer working. The algorithm hates me. People hate my website. We start telling ourselves all these kind of things. And what we're here to talk about today is whether those things are true or whether actually what's going on is more to do with the time of year and a seasonal lull that so many business owners can experience, especially in the birth and baby industry. So that's what we're talking about today. Is it you or is it the blooming weather? So in my experience of being in this industry a decade, I have definitely experienced quiet times and noticed there seems to be a bit of a pattern. And certainly December is a time like that. December is a time where I know that my inquiries may be quieter than perhaps they were a month or 2 ago. Because naturally people have different priorities. A lot of people are preparing for Christmas, those that celebrate. And even those that don't, if they live in Christian countries, they're perhaps preparing for some downtime. Or maybe there's a lot going on if they've already got children. You know, there's assemblies, end of year stuff. People's lives look a lot different to what they looked like a couple of months before. So I definitely see that around Christmas time. And then I notice that January, everyone has New Year vibes. Actually, they've dealt with the whole festivities and now they're going into thinking, right, what do I want to get sorted for this year? And that's when, of course, we find that we have these inquiries. And guess what? I have also noticed that this is true during the summer months, particularly July and August. I'm not saying I suddenly get 0 inquiries, but what I do notice is that there is a noticeable difference compared to other times of the year. And we were talking about this recently on our monthly catch-up for our Love Your Birth community. So students and graduates come together for a monthly call, and of course people ask questions, gain advice. And one of the things that came up was this whole thing of, actually, I've noticed things are a bit quieter right now. Now, what we're going to talk about today, though, is that what's happening for you, or actually is it to do with the action that you're taking? Because I'd never want anyone to listen to this episode and think, oh my gosh, there's no point trying then. If it's going to be quiet, there's no point trying. It's all going to just hit a wall anyway. Or think that what they're doing is absolutely perfect and it's simply the time of year, when in reality, it's that they're not really getting visible, or they're not really thinking about their messaging when they're communicating their services. Ultimately, maybe they're hiding a little bit. So I think it's important that although it's okay to acknowledge that there are seasonal dips, we can't put everything down to that. Because certainly when we work with expectant parents and new parents, there is only a certain window, isn't there? There's only a certain window that people are going to work with us. And that window isn't suddenly closed because the sun is shining and people are planning holidays. You know, there still is people out there that blooming need our services. Okay. So, firstly, let's think about why businesses experience a summer lull. Well, ultimately, it's because human behaviour changes during that time. You know, what may have been their priority a couple of months ago becomes something different. So for many people and many families, during the summertime, their money, their time, their energy is likely to be more focused on things like day trips, holidays, weddings, you know, not necessarily their own wedding, but attending weddings, being prepared for that, you know, planning things, getting presents, planning outfits, all that kind of stuff. And what that means is they have less time, less energy to be online, you know, to be searching for services. Their focus is going somewhere else. We all know what it's like to be otherwise occupied. You know, at times of busyness in your life, you do less things perhaps for you because actually time's just whizzed by and actually you've been so focused on other things, you've forgot about the thing that was important to you a month ago. So that absolutely can be happening for potential clients. And they may put off doing things until a bit later on in the year because they're like, right, I've just got to get through this month. I've got this person's wedding. We're going on holiday. The kids are off school. And actually life is looking hectic and they're postponing looking into other services till perhaps September time. That absolutely can be what happens. The same is what I refer to in terms of Christmas time. You know, in big festivities, people are otherwise occupied. And that doesn't mean that they're never on social media. I mean, gosh, let's face it. The average adult spends, you know, at least a couple of hours scrolling a day. And it's not that suddenly because they're planning a holiday, you know, that they're no longer scrolling. What it might be is that other things are taking their energy more. You know, they're more likely to be attracted to the reels about holiday outfits and barbecue ideas as opposed to thinking about birth preparation or thinking about baby classes, sleep training, all these kind of things that perhaps you run a business promoting. So we're not saying there's nobody out there. we're saying that there will be a proportion of people that are otherwise occupied and have less energy and less available time to do your thing. And perhaps they're postponing it for a little bit later. And my goodness, this is frustrating, isn't it? This is frustrating when we're running a business and ideally, we want this constant stream of clients. But all businesses can have a seasonal element. Think about a blooming farmer. A farmer isn't getting all stressed out because suddenly the farmer's got no strawberries in November. They know that that is seasonal and they're going to focus on other things in that time instead. Now, my husband, Adam, runs a business, and his business, he sells products, and his product that he sells is Hollywood mirrors, like light up mirrors. And you'd think, there's people all year round wanting to buy mirrors, perhaps maybe with the exception of, a busier rush just before Christmas because people might be buying them for gifts. But the reality is, if there's a really sunny weekend, he will say to me, it'll be really quiet on Monday. So when he goes into work to pack the mirrors to be sent out, Monday will be really quiet when there's been a sunny weekend, because he knows people ultimately are spending less time scrolling, therefore, less likely to buy his thing than if the weather was more rubbish. So times when, we do have poorer weather, times when people have got more time on their hands, people are more likely to buy. So another example of this is he did really well during COVID. Not the first bit because he had to completely shut down, but towards the end of COVID, when we had that awful final lockdown where we were all totally fed up of it at that point, and the glorious weather had gone and we were blooming expected to log our kids onto Zoom calls. Oh my God, the trauma of it is hitting me again. My gosh. I liked some elements of COVID, I must admit, but that last lockdown was horrific. But his sales really increased during that time because people had nothing else to do but scroll and think about and plan and decorate and do all that kind of thing. Online courses really did well in that time because people had the time, the energy to commit to things that maybe when the world was normal and they had more social gatherings to attend, they just didn't have time for that. So we have got to be aware that people's lives often look a little different during the summer, okay? Because for some people, they do have more going on in their life. So as a result, their priorities are somewhere else. Okay. Now, here's the thing. What I know is no matter what time of year it is, people are still going to buy something that they feel is the number one solution for their number one problem in their life. And recently I heard someone describe this as, if it's their bleeding neck problem. It's a bit graphic, isn't it? But if your neck is bleeding, you've got to sort it out ASAP, haven't you? That becomes your main priority in life. It's a problem. It's an emergency. Now, I'm not saying that you sell services that deal with emergencies, but let's take the example that you are a hypnobirthing teacher, okay? So if you are a hypnobirthing teacher, there are likely tons of potential clients out there because let's face it, anyone who's having a baby can absolutely benefit from hypnobirthing. You know, even if they don't consider themselves to be scared of birth, if they want to feel more prepared, if they want tools to help them get a birth that makes them feel more positive, they're going to be needing hypnobirthing. However, there will be a proportion of clients that really feel like, oh my gosh, I need this now, because they are feeling so desperate. They are feeling so perhaps afraid, so perhaps anxious. It's the number one thing that they are scrolling on a night about. It's the number one thing they are talking about to family and friends. It's their bleeding neck problem. It's their main problem in their life that is impacting everything. And despite whether it's sunny outside, despite whether they've got a wedding to attend next week, despite whether it's blooming Christmas and they've got, you know, loads and loads of presents to buy, their bleeding neck problem is going to be there, front of mind, and they're still going to seek out the service that is going to help that massively. So the reason that I'm talking about this is because there are always going to be people like that out there that are not going to want to wait until September. They hear about this thing that is going to help them with the biggest problem in their life right now, and they need it now. You know, they need it now. So considering that, you might want to think about your messaging, you know, who you feel you are talking to in your marketing in the next few weeks, because it's actually those people that are more likely to take the plunge than perhaps the people that are like, oh yeah, I'm 30 weeks pregnant. Oh, I've got more time. And, you know, right now I'm feeling okay about it. You know? It's the people that are actually feeling like, my goodness, I need something. And this might apply to you if you work with new parents too. You know, there might be the people that are just like, oh, I want to go to baby massage. It'll be a nice thing to do while I'm on maternity leave. Or there might be the people that are like, I am going stir crazy inside, living in an area where I hardly know anybody. I need this. Otherwise, I'm going to feel like I'm going insane, you know? Can you see the difference? There's the people that are like, oh, it's a nice to have, and there's the people that need it now. And the people that need it now are going to need it no matter what time of year, okay? So if I think about, you know, if my business was solely focused on gaining hypnobirthing clients, because as you know, my business now focused on getting people to come with me to train as hypnobirthing teachers. But if my business was focused on getting expectant client parents, I might think, okay, this is a natural lull of the year, but there still are people out there. And these people may need me to say things that really speak to their heart. And I would be thinking about, you know, speaking to their problem, that feeling that their pregnancy is going really quick, the baby's birth is coming round imminently, and yet they are still putting in all their fears to ChatGPT and feeling reassured in the moment, but actually when they wake up the next day, their fear is just as strong, you know? And I would be thinking about really specifically making my messaging target that type of person. Now, in terms of other things that we can do during a lull, you know, it's not time to like hang up our hats and feel like, right, the business gets to close. It can be. I know some business owners that know the summer is going to be quiet, and that's when they will decide to actually pause their business for a while. They might have a bit of scheduled content going out, and actually they focus on having family time. And they might see that as their real benefit of being a business owner, that they get to embrace that lull and make it very much about time to be present with their family, or, focus on their hobbies or whatever it might be. Go traveling even, whatever. Or you might be like, right, well, actually, I still need to be working. I want to be earning. So what you might focus on is using this time to prepare for the catch-up bit. If we're finding that we are quieter, we also know that there will be a time when it will pump back. I mean, what does pump back mean? I don't know. When it will come back, when the clients will return. And that's likely to be September time, when suddenly people feel like, right, priorities have changed, need to get my life sorted. It's almost like the second new year for so many people. And if they are parents, the kids have gone back to school. Normal routines have returned. So then they may be able to commit to your wonderful services with more ease. So what you might be thinking about right now is getting ahead and getting those classes out there, promoting them, talking about them, getting the cash flow in, even though these people are not gaining the services until September, October time. But they know they have reserved their spot and they can forget about it and they can focus on, sunbathing or gardening or whatever they were focusing on. Okay. Also, a really fantastic thing to do when there is a lull in your business is prepare, get ahead. So if September is going to be busier with client work, so actually working with clients, you want like admin, marketing to be super quiet, don't you? You don't want to feel like you're having to work twice as hard come September. Instead, how about you spend these summer months batching, getting prepared, redoing things on your website that you've been needing to do for so long, and it's going to set you such strong foundations for when times get busy. It might be that you know that if you're going to be busy in September, you want to sort out like resources for that time. Use this time now. Don't feel like, oh gosh, it's gone quiet, I do nothing. Think back to what I said about the farmer. There's only certain times a year that the farmer is actually like harvesting. The rest of the time, they are doing the groundwork. Who am I? It's like I'm suddenly know loads about farming. I really don't. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a farmer, you're probably laughing your head off at my ridiculous things. But surely, if you're a farmer, there is only times that you are picking the crop and selling it. The rest of the time is the other work that gets the crop there in the first place. And that's how we want to think about this lull in terms of our businesses too. Okay. Now, this is the important bit though. Please don't take everything that I'm saying in this podcast to be your excuse. Don't take this to mean that actually, if you are experiencing a quieter spell, that definitely is why. It's time to get honest with yourself. It's time to truly reflect. Like, are you being visible? Are clients able to find you and know what you are about and why your thing is for them? Or have you actually been hiding or overcomplicating things or not following up on inquiries or no longer doing the things that were actually really working for you because you've got complacent or you've overcomplicated it and now you're confusing everyone. So before, you take on all that advice about a summer lull, do be honest with yourself and think, is that what I'm experiencing? Or have I changed things? Because so often we do think like, what's going on? And actually we step back and we think, well, to be fair, I've hardly done anything on my business. To be fair, I've been avoiding following up past inquiries because I find it cringy. So be honest with yourself. Is there something you should be doing that would have a big impact and you are avoiding it? And the only way you will know, my lovely one, is by giving it a go, and reflecting on how things were when bookings were rolling in and honestly like what you were doing that produced that. I also want you to know that whilst summer bookings can be lower for some businesses, it's not the case for everyone. It's not. So again, this is the announcement to not think, oh, well, I'm not even going to bother. There's no point. Nobody books over summer. Of course they blooming do. Remember what I talked about all those people that, view needing your service as a bleeding neck problem. They're still going to be booking. And let's not assume everybody's going to weddings and going on holidays. Like if I think about my life, I've got 4 kids. My kids are off over the summer. And you could assume, okay, Abby will be, doing less scrolling for services. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, I actually find that I have more time to do stuff like that in the summer. And that's not because I've got more physical time, but it's because emotionally, I'm more stable. When my kids are off school and I'm not navigating the chaos of 3 school runs and advocating for their needs at school and speaking to councils about EHCPs, oh my gosh, I am like a brand new woman, I have got the headspace to research things for me. Yeah, I'm not doing it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when maybe I'm doing things with my kids. But come the time when my husband comes through that door, I am certainly hopping up the stairs to do something for me, So let's not assume everyone is like that. That everyone doesn't look for services in the summer, because it won't be everyone at all. Some of you might even work internationally, so you might offer your services to people living in other countries. And people in other countries, of course, have slightly different seasons. They might have different school holiday patterns or different vibes around when is like the fresh new year, the second new year that we consider to be September. I know that even in Scotland, I'm in England and our school holidays end at the start of September. I know that in Scotland, they actually end in August, so even that, quite relatively close to home, there's a huge difference. So do remember that. This is like, I don't know, they're like the small print, isn't it? Although like a summer lull is a thing, do not assume there are no clients out there, because there absolutely are. And if we take it to mean there isn't, it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. But during any quiet times, whether it's summer or whether it's another time, it's time to work on the other things in your business so that you are freeing yourself up for those times that are busier with client work. So I really hope this podcast today has been useful. My intention is to help you stop panicking and jump into crazy decisions like slashing prices or, abandoning forms of marketing that were previously working. Making snap decisions, assuming that you've broken your business, when actually the reality is many businesses do see seasonal changes. What I would also recommend is that you note this down. If you are having a quiet month at a certain time of year, note it down, because actually the future you will be really grateful of that. If actually you come July 2027 and you're like, why is it so quiet? You will have forgotten that is a thing for you unless you write it down. And actually, the next time you can prepare for it. You can think, actually, money in might be lower, so I need to prepare for that cash flow wise, so that I am ensuring I am earning more in the months around to make sure that it's okay if things are quieter. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope that has been super useful. As always, really appreciate your feedback. It always makes me so happy to hear what stood out for you in today's podcast. And I really hope that it has provided you with perhaps some reassurance, perhaps some guidance for how to deal with it, and also motivation, knowing that there are always people there, but maybe we need to be speaking to them a little differently. So that's it for this episode. Next time, I'm going to be sharing some well-known advice, business-wise and in terms of industry-wise, that I blooming disagree with. I do not opt in to that advice. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you next time. So I'll see you next time for another episode of Rockabye Revenue. And as always, keep on changing lives. Bye! Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world. And remember, keep changing lives. See you next time.